Hello, and welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches from around the nation that are making the big time where they are at. Before we get to the episode, we'd like to thank our sponsors that make this podcast possible. This episode is brought to you by Plyomat. The Plyomat is a multi-faceted jump testing mat that allows you to instantly receive ground contact times, jump height, and reactive strength measurements. One thing that is unique about the Plyomat is that it allows you to connect not just one, but multiple mats together for use in multi-hurdle hops and bounds, which not only gives it testing value, but also high value in training sessions with instant feedback on athlete reactivity. It is easy to use, accurate, and affordable. To check out the Plyomat and see what it can do for your training, head to plyomat.net. That's plyomat.net. This episode is also brought to you by Powerlift. Taking your athletic facility from concept to completion can be a challenge. It is Powerlift's goal to make the process as seamless as possible from start to finish. Their weight equipment is made from the toughest materials that can withstand excessive use from coaches and athletes for years to come. It's sought after for its unique design, customizable appearance, affordability, and superior warranty that training facilities deserve. Powerlift helps design weight rooms with the athlete in mind, and they pride themselves on their ability to outfit athletic facilities based on a team's unique goals. That's why high schools, universities, professional sports teams, and athletic performance facilities around the world have chosen Powerlift to help maximize their strength training goals. Call Powerlift today to be contacted with a rep in your area and give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to see for yourself why our clients are Powerlift proud. Finally, this episode is also brought to you by Vitruve. Vitruve is a velocity-based training system designed for colleges and high schools around the world. It is accurate, reliable, and affordable. The software is quick and easy to set up and use with a whole room of athletes simultaneously. Coaches have chosen Vitruve because it simplifies VBT and allows them to seamlessly integrate it on a daily basis. Check out Vitruve now for your school's free demo unit. Now, let's get to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Big Time Strength Podcast. Happy to have another awesome Iowa coach on this evening, and coach is taking time out of his day, and once again, it's a late evening, so somebody that probably needs to get to bed here pretty soon, but he's taking the time, hopping on the podcast, and just thankful for him. Been able to bounce ideas back and forth off of him, and he's been nothing but gracious and helpful in everything that he does for me, and hopefully he enjoys some of the conversations we have on the other side too. So, Coach, I appreciate you hopping on this show. Could you open up by giving us a little bit of your background, the demographics of your school, and kind of the population that you're working with?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me. Really excited about being on here. And I think before we talk about me, we have to congratulate you. I just saw that you were the NHSSCA Regional Coach of the Year. So, man, that's awesome. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. It's really what it comes down to is I get to do a job each day that I really enjoy. So it makes a lot of fun and makes it fun that I get to work with kids every day. So thankful for you, man. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Congrats. So a little bit about me. I'm at Fort Madison High School. We're tucked away down here in Southeast Iowa, right along the Mississippi River. So I look out my front door and I see Illinois. So kind of crazy. We're down here away from everybody else. It feels like a lot, but I have been in this position for about 9 years now. I taught science for 14 years, and we made a push to implement this strength conditioning, whatever you want to call it, into our school day. And thankful I had awesome administration, and they bought in and they wanted to move that direction. So this is my first year doing it full time, and I'm loving every minute of it. Before I started teaching, I went to Monmouth College. I was fortunate to play football there, and that, I guess my path into strength conditioning is kind of like a lot of people's. They had some sort of experience, and Monmouth was kind of part of mine. So I really thank them and everything that they did for me. I battled a pretty serious injury, and it was a career ender. But through these surgeries and stuff, I really fell in love with the human body and how it operated, and it opened my eyes to a lot. And so that was kind of the path that I wanted to take.
That's great, Coach. And one of the things that is cool about Fort Madison is it's tucked down such in that corner. It's a beautiful Beautiful. When anytime that you get close to water, right? Like it makes things just that much cooler. And I got to go down to Fort Madison this past football season, and I only been to the football field area, but what a historic little spot there. That's like it's only my only snapshot of Fort Madison, but man, what a cool little setup. Field is amazing. The locker room situation was really cool. Yeah, very awesome. Looked like
Awesome. Thanks.
you guys are revitalizing it, and I love history, man. So good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, we love it. We're definitely a historic town. So
Yeah, no kidding. Right? Like with a lot of river towns. That's the way it rolls, man. Good spot to
absolutely.
be at. So um going into, like just talking about your program and what it looks like to be in your program, just hitting on just a little bit for us. What is your program's mission statement, or what's the vision that you have for your program? Either way you want to take that question.
Yeah, awesome question. So my mission, my personal mission, and everything that I do. So I'm also the head football coach. I'm an assistant wrestling coach. But just how I live my life, I want to educate, empower, and love. That's my life mission. I really feel like I was put on earth to do that. And so I'm lucky. I get to be around, like you were talking about, kids every day, doing a job that I love every day, and so I'm a lucky man. And when I take it, a step further, I guess, in whatever program, specifically strength conditioning, our goal is to train athletes systematically based on science. We want to improve their physical literacy, their lifelong fitness, and obviously, for us in sports, we want to increase power, strength, speed, all of that good stuff. But really looking at the science and training with purpose, not just lifting. And I think that's a big thing. A lot of people lift, but there's a difference between lifting and training. And we really want to emphasize that and push it.
One of the things that I think just stands out to me with that, the educate, empower, love, correct? That's what you
Yes,
got?
sir.
I
Yes, sir.
just saw maybe you congratulated me. I just saw that you got like Citizen of the Year in Fort Madison, something like that, right? And what a cool testament to you and how much you're pouring time and effort into, the obviously your school, your teams, but then also the community. So that's good stuff, man. When you can live out that mission and be recognized for living that out. That's a lot of fun. If you could describe what your culture is like. So if your goal, your mission that you're shooting for is this, what would you describe your culture as you go into a training session or as you walk the halls of your building?
Yeah. So we use the hashtag family, and it's not just because it has a capital F and a capital M in it. It truly means something to us. And it started off with just the football program, but I want it to be in everything that I do. So when I was in the classroom, that's where I want it. I want a family atmosphere, and for us, we define it as unconditional love. And I've thought a lot about this in my college work and everything, prepping to be a teacher. And it's funny how you reflect on a lot of things that your parents said, and you swear that you never be like them, but then there you are saying the things that they say. And our biggest thing in our family is, you're not always going to like me, but as long as you understand that I love you, then I'm good with it. And that's kind of been my mentality as far as whatever I'm doing. So there's going to be times that maybe you're not happy with me, but as long as you understand why we do what we do, and you understand that I love you and I care for you, and that's how I'm going to base my decisions, then I'm okay. So we talk about how it's unconditional love, and we sacrifice for each other, and that could be sitting in stands. I know, Coach, you do it all the time, sitting in stands for games that you're not coaching. And I go to show choir activities. I go to everything that I can to show that I love these guys. And that would be it. That would be the family culture.
Yeah, for anybody that follows Coach on social media, so the family culture, he said the capital F and the capital M, very cool stuff. So Fort Madison, and then they capitalize those in family. So just something that they put on a lot of stuff. What Coach puts on a lot of stuff, and it makes it a pretty big deal when you can tell a kid like, hey, despite circumstance, despite situation, despite what you've done or whatever, I'm here for you. That's pretty sweet. And uh it's okay to take after your parents, I guess, man. So, when you're bringing kids in, let's say it's the first time they're hopping into the weight room, whatever it looks like for them, um, you're onboarding them, you're trying to build up these leaders. What would it look like for you to take a freshman all the way to a senior and then kind of build them up as somebody, like you're educating them, you're empowering them, you're loving them, but what's it look like for them to build up the leadership skills that they need to be successful?
Yeah, we're constantly tweaking this. I mean, and this is probably the hardest part, depending on what portion of the year we're in. So, they could just put a bunch of kids in. So, like one of my classes, I have 48 kids in there, and it's everything from, oh, this is what a weight room looks like, to a kid that's wanting to go play college sports next year. So we have an array of kids, and so I really lean hard on our older kids, and I think it's great for them to develop those leadership skills. And it's a little bit of, I guess, pride. We worked really hard at the foundation of this system, and now we have kids who, they're impressive. I mean, they know what's going on, they use the verbiage and they understand what it means, and they can coach kids. And that's really what we're trying to push, is just a self-sustaining, self-efficient program that, if I'm not there for whatever reason, the kids know the routine, they can coach each other up, they hold each other accountable. And that's kind of, like I said, the goal is for our older people, and I say older, but I mean older in the training sense. So it could be a sophomore, but they've been with us for eighth grade, ninth grade, and attach them to somebody who's newer and makes a welcoming environment. And I'm pretty intense. I walk around fast, and I talk really fast. And I think kids right away are a little bit nervous about that. My body language comes off pretty aggressive because I am passionate and I love this stuff. So it's better for them to talk to somebody a little more their age than me. So really just trying to put them together in the right mix, and hopefully the chemistry takes over.
That's a good way to do it. Anytime that you give kids ownership, uh, allow them to be able to hold each other accountable, I think there's a lot of growth that happens, especially when you debrief it or talk about it, and the intentionality behind it. So I think the way that you're doing that is maybe, if not the best, one of the best ways to do it. So when I think about developing leaders, it's such a multi-dimensional deal, and there's so many experiences that go into it. But like within the realm of the weight room or the gym or on the track or wherever you're training at, like that might be one of the best ways to do it right there. Just giving kids that challenge of like, hey, what would it look like for you to lead this other person today? And even if it's small pockets of it, it's really good. So when you are training such a large array of kids and you're leaning on older kids to help lead the sessions, you're passionate about what you're doing and you want to make sure that it's efficient. What are some of the resources or tools or things that you like to make sure that the training goes the way you want it to go?
Yeah, so right now we are on Rat Coach, and we have TVs. I can split the room, so I have in season and out of season, and we kind of have it built up day by day. So the winter is really hard for training for some reason. Well, not for some reason, because there's so many basketball games, wrestling, with them being, some of them cutting weight, some of them trying to gain weight. It's chaotic. So we come up with the best schedule that we can based on their competition. In season's always the priority, but we have those set up on the screen so that they're on a segment timer. I love segment timers just because we've had apps before and cell phones. I really hate being a cell phone cop, to be honest, and I know that kids, they're going to be on their phones, taking selfies and things like that. Like, we have a small time to train. We need to get in and get out. And I just like to eliminate that possibility of wasting time. So we're on Rat Coach. We love it. The kids, it takes them just a couple days to really get used to it. It's a sweet system, and it's been really beneficial for us.
That's good. Tell me about Rack Coach. Is that how you track data too, is through Rack Coach?
I'm kind of a mess with data. I'm all over the place. So I do have Google Sheets. So I'll do a lot of our averages and things like that outside in Google Sheets. And then I do put it in there because it's long-term tracking in there. So you
Yeah.
can see, all the graphs and stuff. And I'm always fiddling with that stuff. I love I love all of the data stuff. I mean, I was a science teacher for 14 years, so I'm a big time nerd. I love that. And just really trying to find, I think we found our recipe here, what we like to do. But as soon as I say that, I come across something else and change it. But the way it goes.
I hear that. And there's a lot of stuff that you can get done in Google Sheets. It's also nice to have a data management system, for the long-term tracking like you talked about. That's good. Just another connection point. My dad was a science teacher. He retired just a year ago now, I guess. But it's funny when it comes down to analytics and metrics and that type of stuff. It's the inner nerd can come out, right?
Absolutely.
So when you are trying to get all of this stuff rolling, you've got kids with different backgrounds, but you're rolling in season training, out of season training. You've got all this stuff rocking and rolling in a session. You kind of talked about how you wanted to make sure that it fit up well with the basketball season, the wrestling season, the out of season. Can you describe like just a generic week? Are you saying like, okay, wrestlers, you're coming in on these days, basketball players, you're coming in these days? Are you more class based? How do you kind of set up your structure?
Yeah, so we are class based. So I'll have the early bird kids 4 days a week, and I usually tell them if they're in season, let's make sure we get those two lifts in. They don't need to come on the speed and agility day. They're getting that stuff in their practice. But as far as the class kids, so going back to Google Sheets here, I look at this competition week, try to talk to their coaches and see what their hard practices are going to be. And I'm fortunate that I'm in the wrestling practice room, so I kind of know our structure, but really just trying to control the volume. And so I have graphs and such that I can look and see what the high exertion rate days are and where the lower ones are going to be, and try to make it as even as possible. And I think for a long time, myself, as the example, especially in wrestling, like we grinded Monday, we grinded Tuesday, we grinded Wednesday, and then we wondered why we competed like crap on Thursdays. Well, we were worn out, man. Like we burnt the steak, if you will. And that's something that I'm really cognizant of. I'm a big volume control guy. So I like to have that stuff mapped out. Now, it's not always perfect, especially this year with cancellations and late starts and makeup games, but we do the best that we can. And we also use that stoplight system for a lot of our stuff that I got from you actually when I came up and visited you. So even our in-season program, like we'll use that if it's a competition day and they weren't planning it to be, and just been really good.
Yeah, the idea of being able to manipulate volume the way that you are and being able to get that right for everybody, that's like an endless task, but worth it, obviously. One of the ways that I do it, like you mentioned, is that stoplight. And yeah, I actually got that from Cody Hughes down in Alabama. Unbelievable how much it's changed the way that we think about things and how we are able to stay consistent. And I'm happy other people are finding a good use for it too, because there's a lot of ways you can implement it and there's a lot of ways that you can talk about it. And I really think the messaging around it has to be right. In the same way that in-season training, the messaging around in-season training in general, it has to be right, or else
Yeah,
you can lose kids really quick, right? And
absolutely.
and you get it, like when people are grinding every day at practice, they show up to a class and they're like, well, this is PE. And it's like, well, it's actually your training too. So like there's
Right.
so much of this messaging that has to be right for a program to be where it needs to be.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you're telling kids to get them to buy in to your system, to get them to buy in long term, at least freshman through senior year, of like, this is the way that Fort Madison does it. the Bloodhounds are going to do it this particular way because we know it is proven and it is going to be beneficial for you.
Yeah, that's the fight right there. We're still, I don't want to say in our infancy, but we're still fighting those fights, and I imagine you're always going to fight some of those fights. But I think that the proof through our kids that have gone on and had success, a majority of our all-state athletes and such, that like I did a statistic on it. It was over 90% of them were in Bloodhound Performance, and we just rebranded it. And that's kind of the other part of it is our school is all in right now. I mean, the support that I've gotten is phenomenal, and we actually came up with this rebrand. We were Athletic Enhancement, and that was a name that was there before I took over, and we just kind of went with it because that's what everybody knew it as. And so we sat down and we talked about how can we provide an inclusive environment, and it's not just for athletes. Show choir, they perform, band, they perform, and by being in the weight room all the time, that these kids, whether they're an athlete or not, they will improve in their performance and their life by training like this. And so that was kind of our brainchild, was let's come up with a name. We called it Bloodhound Performance. And anybody that's in any type of performing art, there's a place for you in here. And that's the big push, is trying to just get kids in there, and once they get in and they see it's not scary, it's not the old horror stories of the weight room and crazy weight room guy, and it's awesome.
I want to hit on this because I think this is really important, and I believe what you've talked about so far leads me to believe that this is a high priority for you, is the inclusive environment. And I don't know if this can be overstated enough. When you are a strength and conditioning coach, when you're a strength and speed coach, or you're a performance coach, whatever you want to call it, right? There is so much baggage that comes along with that. There's so much bias. There's so many preconceived notions. And to break down those barriers, break down those walls, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of work. And once again, messaging, like what is being broadcast out there. Um, how are you going about making sure that your kids, no matter who they are, freshman, senior, girl, boy, athlete, non-athlete, whatever you've got going on, right? How do you make sure that people feel welcome when they walk in the room?
Yeah, well, that baggage that you were talking about, it's intensified when, like, I'm the head football coach. So head football coach running the weight room equals all he cares about is football players, right? Well, I would hope that every single one of our kids that have ever been through there, they say that's 100% false. Like, he loves us, and he cares about Fort Madison, and he cares about Bloodhound Performance. And I'm confident in that because, we've got a great relationship in there. So like I said, just kind of getting those kids in there is that's the big thing. But I think that they see me around, they see me at the events, and okay, so this guy, he cares. I try to have conversations. I started doing your question of the day where you're bouncing around. I mean, some of the conversations, some of the fights that you'll have over what's the best type of milk, strawberry, chocolate, or white. What a great way to just kind of break that barrier that you were talking about. Kids that are maybe a little bit nervous about me, and I'm asking them some funky question and catching them off guard. So really, it's just building those relationships and showing up for these kids and saying hi to them in the hallways and letting them know, that I'm here for the right reasons.
I think that so many coaches maybe miss that. They miss the small opportunities for conversation and connection. And to hear that you are searching for those and seeking out people to do that, I think that's just another level of just like making sure kids that, I mean, buy-in will happen. And just like you said, there's always this hurdle of like getting kids on board. But when they know that you care, when there's this unconditional love, when it's an inclusive environment, then I really do truly believe that it impacts the school district in a large, large way. And honestly, it's great when it spills over to athletics. It's great when it spills over to wins and accomplishments and awards and stuff like that. But really, when it comes down to it, it makes people better for a lifetime. Like it allows them to see that strain, struggle, and searching for progress is so important no matter what you're doing, right? I think just the weight room is just that microcosm. Training in general, it doesn't even have to be the weight room, is that microcosm for life. And it's really cool when you see coaches like yourself killing it like that. That's what it's about, man. Um,
Awesome.
none of the stuff that happens on a day-to-day basis is easy. Like the amount of decisions teachers make, coaches make on a day-to-day basis is so much. It's not like education's getting any easier. When you think about the job that you do, there's stuff that probably energizes you and there's stuff that probably drains you. Can you give me like one thing that's energizing you right now and one thing that you just wish were different because it's just draining you?
Man, that's a great question and a tough one. I think it really obviously depends on the day. Anybody that's in education knows that no day is like another. I mean, it's just constantly, you never know what you're going to get. And I think that's the excitement of it. And sometimes that's the frustration of it. But right now, we're in a testing period coming out of our winter season. Unfortunately, all of our sports are done. So this is a good time for us to test and see where we're at moving into the spring. So I guess that's what's energizing me, just seeing the kids get excited about our test week, and we try to make it a big deal. We do what we call Club Dub. So when it's our testing sets, we turn the lights off and have some old disco balls in there and some lights, and we crank up the music, and we try to make it a party. We try to have some fun and intensify the juice, if you will. And it's cool seeing kids buy into that. I think at first they thought maybe it was a little bit weird, but now if I get so busy, I forget to turn off the lights and plug the disco lights in, the kids will do it for me, and they really love that. So that's awesome. As far as draining, oh man, I'm just drained. I think I go from football season right into wrestling season. It's just nonstop. It's early mornings and late nights, but um, it's worth it, and I absolutely love it. So I guess I'll be drained. I'm okay with it.
That's good. I liked how you opened up like the unpredictability of day to day is the energizing part and the draining part. I like that. I like that also. So if you could nail down some of like the toughest hurdles that you've had up to this point and how you've overcome those challenges, what would you say? Like if you could go like the top one or two, what would be like the tougher things that you've had to go through and how you actually got through it?
Yeah, I would say the toughest thing this past season we had, well, really the past year. You and I had talked about it. We had some injuries, some major injuries to key players, not just football. It was around, and as a strength coach, that makes you start questioning some things, and one of them is motivating. You start research because you're going to not let it ever happen again, and then it happens again, and you're like, what the heck? And I'm fortunate that I have a surgeon here in town who's an amazing surgeon, and him and I talk a lot, and our trainer as well, and we just sit around and we collaborate, and like here's the program, here's what we're doing. We have a physical therapist who comes in every once in a while and watches us train and talk. So we've got a great team, if you will, and that's been awesome. But just getting over those injuries, I mean, it's what it's like. You and I were talking weeks ago, and it's just heart wrenching when you have a kid who does absolutely everything that you want them to do and that you need them to do and they need to do, and whatever bad luck or whatever you want to say happens, and you don't know what to do. And we've unfortunately had that in the past year and a half and it's that was a drainer, if you will. But we're going to keep plugging away. We're going to keep improving and keep making things right. Our guys are bouncing back from injuries, from surgeries and stuff, so that's a positive. And then the other thing, I guess, would be buy-in. I think that the weight room's a scary place for a lot of coaches, especially older coaches, because strength conditioning in a lot of places probably wasn't a high priority or even known. I didn't lift. I'm gonna be 100% honest. I didn't lift until I went to college, and that was another motivator for me. Was I was ill prepared when I went to college, and that was a miserable experience and feeling. And so I don't want our athletes, if they do choose to go to the next level, to feel that way. And so we're going to educate them the best that we can. And it's awesome when you get messages back like, "Hey, coach, man, we're in there cleaning, and my coach says that my clean form is awesome for a freshman," you know. And so all that stuff's worth it. But those are probably the two biggest hurdles lately, is just the injuries that have happened, and figuring out why. Because I'm a scientist, so I believe that there's a reason. I don't necessarily believe that it's just bad luck. There's got to be something going on, and let's figure it out. And we've been working hard at that. And then, like I said, just the buy-in from some coaches who just don't maybe understand it, but we're trying to educate them. I'm trying to make myself available for them at anytime they need. I'm here to supplement your program, and that's what I want. So
Yeah, that's really good. The first one, it's always heart-wrenching to see a kid get injured. And I love it. I don't know how to say this. I love it when a strength and conditioning coach feels like it's their fault. And I don't know how to the best way to say that or describe it in the right way, but it's like they see that um they believe that they can make a difference and like what they're doing is beneficial. And if somebody gets hurt and in a job that we're trying to increase durability, the term that a lot of people use is injury prevention. Like when they take that to heart and say, you know what, I think we can do this better to help prevent more injuries or, make somebody more durable. Um, I think that's the right mindset, that's the right perspective, even though it's impossible. I don't know. I don't know if that made sense at all, but really what I'm trying to say is like the heart behind it, instead of being like, well, that kid, they missed a couple times and they shouldn't have missed or whatever it was. It's like, no, it's like really trying to dig down and say, what is it that we could do better? And
right.
I think some coaches miss that opportunity. And I think sometimes I've missed that opportunity. Um, and so I'm just trying to learn and I know everybody's just trying to
Yeah.
learn, right? And then the other one, just getting stakeholders on board. That's the name of the game, right? It's like it's not just coaches, it's like admin, registrar, secretaries,
Yeah.
your other teaching colleagues. It's like I saw a tweet the other day. It's like Billy Bob Joe, the guy down at the street corner, like getting everybody, like in the community, like everybody to get on board. It takes so
Yeah.
much. Um,
Yep.
and I mean, that's the job of like you're in two sport worlds too. You're in the wrestling world and you're in the football world. It's like it's much of the same. It's like how can we
Yeah.
continue to increase buy-in? And it's a dangerous game to play because it's
Yeah.
consuming. Um,
Yes.
but once again, it's worth it, right?
Absolutely.
Here's what I want to do. Switch gears a little
Okay.
bit. Let's switch gears into training, a
Okay.
session. Um, Maybe even a week overview. What's it look like? How are we getting training done? What's some of your main principles or methodologies? Some of your guiding thoughts as you program for your kids.
Yeah. So um, I don't want to say that we're feed the cats, but that's a methodology that I'm following. Um, I read a thing a long time ago, and it said bigger, faster, stronger, and that's kind of the BFS program is what I grew up on, right? And it said out of those three things, what's the most important in sport? And I'd never thought about it like that. I thought that was a great question. Well, in my opinion, it's speed. I think speed kills, and it's the most important. So we are prioritizing speed. Monday is our sprint day, and this is new this year, where we're sprinting every single Monday, and we're even doing it during the winter. And that's kind of been the hardest part is the winter, just because you can't be outside, and we don't have the facilities to really have a long sprint. But we found a hallway, and we're doing the best that we can. Talked to Tony Holler a lot about it, and he's been awesome to me answering my questions. And I've been blowing them up a little bit. But that's kind of what we do. So we train speed on Monday, everybody. And then we have our first lift on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we will do change of direction. On Thursday, in season, it depends on what season we're in, but like coming out of the winter here. So on Thursday was a recovery day for wrestlers because we wrestle on Thursdays, and basketball would get lift number 2 in for the week. And then we would flip that on Friday. So Friday, the wrestlers would get their second lift of the week, and basketball would be on a recovery day. And so we have in like built-in recovery stuff. I became RPR certified, so really pushing that type of stuff. Some of the stuff we'll do, cognition stuff, or we'll do reaction stuff. So it's not just like lay around and stretch, but there is some of that going on too, and that's always a worry. What if admin walks in and sees kids just like laying on a foam roller? They trust me and they know that that's not what we do in there. So we're foam rolling and recovering and doing that type of stuff.
This is not a rebuttal. I think it's supporting. But when you say bigger, faster, stronger, which one's the most important, and you land on speed, I'm in complete agreement. One of the things that I want people to realize is that it's not at the expense of the other two. I mean,
Absolutely.
depending on goals for an athlete, like your 106 pounder, it doesn't want to get bigger, right? But definitely wants to get stronger. So let's agree upon everybody wants to get stronger. And
Yes.
then in some athletes, they want to get bigger. Okay.
Yep.
I do not believe that prioritizing speed interferes with the other two in any way. And Tony would say, like most people that follow Tony, like it's the tide that lifts all boats, right? If speed goes up, everything else is going to go up also. So when people hear that prioritizing speed is beneficial, I think at first there are like, well, this is counter to everything that I've done before because let's just get in the weight room and lift, right? And then once
Right.
we start to realize that, like sprinting, game speed type stuff, change of direction, agility, those things are just as important, at least,
Yes.
at the very least, just as important,
Right.
possibly more so important, depending on how you look at things and what you're saying is foundational, right?
Right.
And I think that having a breakdown or a structure to your week that kids can count on, like you do, it really allows for them to know, like, hey, we've got this emphasis for the day. This is what we're doing. We're going to get a recovery day when we need it. Like all those things are built in. I think there's a lot of value in that. Do you feel like over the years you have found some stuff that has just really worked for you? And have you found stuff that you've kind of just gone away from or you've thrown out?
Yeah, it's funny. I save everything, so I have all of our workouts, and I was coming out of college and whatever. I was your typical meathead, like let's lift, 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 lift. I didn't think about a lot of the other stuff, and so how everything's kind of changing, and that changes with science too. I mean, this game is crazy. The stuff that comes out, and I mean, daily. If you're on Twitter, you see stuff all the time. You're like, ooh, I never thought about that, and it just causes you to do some research, and you can get lost in that as well. But as far as some of the staples in our program, um, you know, I'm still a squat guy. I like squats. We have eliminated back squats from in season though. I'm not putting an axial load on our kids. They have enough stress on their system, so we try not to compress their spine at all. Um, Still hang clean. I really enjoy hang clean, but man, you just kind of stumped me. I'm just trying to think here
No, you're
of
good. You're a horrible
something, but
coach because you back squat your kids and you do it, right? Like there's a whole sector of Twitter that
yeah, it's crazy. Like I read it,
crazy.
and sometimes you're like, ooh, like, huh, never thought about that. And it's awesome that those resources are out there and that the conversations are being had, and um, it's just such a fascinating field. I mean, it's the best.
Yeah, I was just talking with my athletic director today. We're talking. There was a guy that just got hired at Alabama that we both know, and within the sports performance world, like the training up of athletes, there are so many variables to account for. And the conversation centered around like how do you actually know that you are training what you want to train and you're getting the results that you want to get without being able to control for all the variables. And it's like, well, a lot of times it's like, okay, we have a pretty good idea. It's like Tony Holler's X Factor drills. It's like, well, we get a pretty good idea that yes, we need to train speed, but these other things are probably going to help speed. And so it's
Right.
like, okay, there's a whole lot of scientific method to it. And there's also this like hunch that, man, this is something that's going to be helpful or this is going to be good for our kids, you know? And
Right.
that's one of the things that I love just seeing over time is like you just end up seeing, well, I've been doing this for a while and it seems to be very helpful. So that's where I'm always like, it's don't ride this line of, or I ride this line of like, okay, am I just doing this because it's the way I've always done it? Or is it truly helping us? And like just asking that question over and over and over. And that's what you've
Yeah.
landed on with the couple things that you mentioned, right? Like there's a
Yeah.
reason hang cleans in your program or back squats in your program. You've seen it,
Right.
it's beneficial.
Right. And we, science background, experimentation, right? Like controlled. And we, you only change one variable at a time. So it takes a lot of time to test things. And I try to be very methodical in that where I'm not changing a bunch of different things because good or bad, well, what made the change? And so we learned that in freshman science that one variable at a time. And so just kind of chipping away at that. And sometimes, this trimester, we might change something in our training program and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's when people go to the doctor's office and the and they only change one variable at a time and it takes weeks and multiple appointments, it's really frustrating, but it's like, okay, this is the way that you can actually figure out what's going on. Yeah,
Right.
those were some of my we called it unknowns back in high school. I'm sure that's a normal chemistry thing, but like what's the
Mm-hmm.
figuring out the unknowns? What is this
Yeah.
chemical? What is this substance? You know,
Right.
and just trying to figure out what are the variables. And it's like, okay, this is just a game. I love playing this game.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
So, if you talk about the program and where it's at right now and your vision for it in the future, let's say 3 to 5 years out, what's something that you're shooting for? Like, if you're going to have some growth areas, some places that you just want to see it get to, what are the things that you're going to be focusing on?
Yeah. You said it. Growth. I mean, obviously, in the physical sense, where we're hopefully getting faster because we're doing the right things. We're becoming more explosive and stronger. And going back to your strength part, our kids get tired of hearing me. I say strength is the engine of the athlete. So you're not going to find kids who are really fast and can jump really high, but they're not strong, and that relative strong. So we really do emphasize the strength part, but the growth part, leading by example, me, just chasing, not chasing, that's probably the wrong word, but researching always, and I want to grow. I just joined the NHSSCA. I'm excited to become certified through them. I've done the RPR stuff and just to continue to grow and add tools to our tool belt, if you will. And that's going to improve our kids and keep educating, empowering, and loving those guys and just doing the right things.
That's good. Also, short plug there for the NHSSCA. I haven't done their certification. I'm excited to start that. Probably will be a summer project once things tone down a little bit. But yeah, that's good stuff, Coach. Um, if you are looking to learn, you're looking to improve, you're just doing some professional development, what are some of the go-to places that you're going? So like everybody right now, they can say social media pretty quickly, maybe specific accounts, different people, but then maybe other things too. It doesn't have to be social
Yeah.
media.
Yeah, so one of them is right here. I love Big Time Strength podcast. I listen to all of them. I think you can learn something from everybody. So I really enjoy listening to your podcast, and I've been lucky to have you. helped me a lot. Guys like Matt Orton, Tony Stewart. It's that's what I love about this profession, and football coaches are awesome too. But I think there's a lot of secretiveness, or maybe like I'm not going to give you the full answer, clinic talks, if you will. But it seems like you guys, Matt Siebold, and just really awesome guys. If I call with a question or a text, I get this awesome response, and it's like just an awesome world, I guess. But I love going to clinics. I think making those connections, meeting people, that's the best. But those are kind of my go-tos. And then obviously reading anything that I can get my hands on.
The learning in all ways, man. That's awesome. That's good stuff. And the Big Time Strength podcast, it's good to listen to too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Is there another topic that you would like to talk about, or is there anything else that you would like to say before we move into our last question?
Um, no, we're kind of starting to look into some VBT stuff, so I'm going to be picking your brain a lot. And I'm excited about that progression here. So I got the school to buy into that, and I'm excited to get moving. But like I said, it's going to be a huge undertaking at first, but I'm ready to take it on and move because I think it's the best route for our kids and our program. And so be ready for text messages from me. I'm sorry in advance.
No worries, man. I tell you, VBT is a great tool and it is awesome for more information. And as soon as you get kids to be able to see how the information is beneficial so that they can make better decisions, it's a game changer. And I used to think that was only for particular settings or possibly, college or upper level. And now I'm seeing as like this is just as fundamental as being able to know how much weight is on the bar, like how
Mm-hmm.
fast do we move it? That's literally the question that we're asking so that we can get the training qualities that we want from our training and not be guessing about it. So I
Absolutely.
think if a school has the opportunity to move into VBT, they've got a system in place. It's not a priority at the very beginning. There's so many other things that you can focus in on and get huge, fast improvements, right? But eventually, I do think it is something that schools should move to. And yeah, so I know a lot of people listen to this, they already know VBT but it is a game changer after you have things in place. And for us, Vitruve, all right, there we go. I'll say it. Vitruve is our go-to because simple, affordability, great metrics, and reliable. That's the big thing. No missed reps.
It was
So
awesome watching your kids operate the system when I was up there with you and like ask the kid, hey, what's going on here? And they could explain it. So that's just credit to the culture that you've built there.
a lot of messaging, man. A lot of messaging. I mean, like, I'm sure kids get tired of some of the things that we talk about. But I also think that it's the reason why they buy in is because they see the why behind it. And that's when a coach understands the why behind something, they're doing a particular drill or whatever, and they're like all on fire about it. It's great, but it doesn't matter that much unless a kid gets it, it really doesn't.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, good point. Good point.
same thing with being a really smart teacher. It's like it's great if you're smart, but if you can't relay the information to the student, it's not that helpful. So,
Absolutely.
okay, last question. Everybody knows the question. Still my favorite question and will always be my favorite question. If you're going to answer this namesake of the show, how are you going to make, or how are you making the big time where you're at?
Yeah. So I hear this question every episode, and I think, man, these guys have awesome answers. And I always think about what mine would be. Um, and I think my answer has to be we're just going to keep trying to develop elite people through this awesome training and weight room and building relationships and just making elite individuals for the future.
I love it. Let's dig just a little bit deeper, okay?
Okay.
Explain that just a little bit to me. right? So you're saying elite. This is a messaging that you're telling your kids, like, I want you to be an elite person. What the heck's that mean?
Yeah. So I don't want to get too long-winded here, but in Fort Madison, low socioeconomic, we talk a lot about our football program, and there's a lot of absent fathers and things like that. And so we talk as a coaching staff. We have to model how a man's supposed to act. I want them to see me with my wife and my family, and I want them to see that in the other coaches. And so we just want them making the right choices, doing the right things, especially when they're hard, and I think that that's what separates an elite person when um, discipline over default is kind of what we talk a lot about. And that's our dog mentality. So if you've seen my social media, you see that I post dog mentality a lot. And that's what it is. A dog mentality is having the discipline over the human default. And so it is oftentimes choosing the hard thing because that's the right thing.
That's a great, that's a great, it's a great way to end the show right there. I think you nailed it. That dog mentality, discipline over default. What's it look like to be an elite person? It's good stuff, Coach. I appreciate you taking the time tonight. I know you got to get to bed now. Rise and shine tomorrow morning. Get after it again, right?
Absolutely.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. I appreciate you too.